like there's that saying, like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But I actually prefer the saying, like, sometimes you do what you're good at so that you can do what you love. So I think it's important to have balance in work.
If you are going to school for some kind of business management and they show you traits and ways to portray those qualities of what a manager would have or something that you would be doing in the future, I think that that's super important too, because not only are you learning in school, but you're also getting windshield time, and I think windshield time is by far the most, I guess you would say, important thing to look at.
As us kind of jumping out of college, jumping out of other jobs, trying to pay the bills and whatnot, we're still very much so not established in our history yet, academy isn't always just going to, the college that you want to. It's sometimes having a great boss, having a great coworker who is able to take you under their wing and build you into the person that you want to be. Because we don't really have a history. I know we were talking about every time I open my phone now, it seems like some major world event is happening. You know? Yeah. So it's we're in some kid's history book 20 years from now.
I think the best way to recruit is to just somehow get into the high schools or have an have a kid, cousin, whatever at the high school, have them talk to their friends.
Instead of focusing on a certificate or a degree, focus on someone's experience.
I would say having a good social media presence.
People get overlooked just by the way that they look, acting up here sometimes. Obviously, you can't always judge a book by its cover. So I think that's a huge thing that people don't take away from it day by day. So I think if people were to change that, then I think things would come together a lot quicker than they have over the years. I think we are making it personally a long way, but we still have a long ways to
go. When your values match up with the company's values, you actually feel like you're doing something. You know what I mean?
You're the perfect employee.
Those.
Right.
Exactly. Because it's you actually feel like you're making a difference. Because I feel especially in this generation, there's a very apparent want to be to feel like you have purpose, to feel like you belong where you're at, And so to have those same statements in your mind, mission statements, it's you're kind of given that drive, that extra motivation to be I'm actually working towards something that I'm wanting to get done,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to do,
Yeah. I also think too, I think that there are a lot of younger generation people that do want to have, be a part of something with those core values. I think part of the, I guess you would say, challenge in finding those, I think it's hard to really find those people though that really want to exemplify core values that a company holds. So in order to be, I guess, attract more of that is to have those employees really portray those core values and really be a part of their character. So I think character is another big thing to look at in their own personal values. How do I want to present myself? What is my work ethic like? So I think work ethic also has a lot to go into it.
Yeah, I guess just having that work ethic and more than anything just a willingness to learn and a willingness to work hard. I think those are really important to look at, more so than qualifications or degrees just at the beginning at least, especially nowadays with COVID and everything. It makes it really hard for people to have that experience and stuff.
Right.
For sure.
So I think it's important to look at them as people and not just their qualifications, but their character and work ethic, like you said.
Yeah. And I think there's this misconception that this generation doesn't want to work. That this generation is just perfectly fine with like being lazy. I think that more than anything, the misunderstanding kind of comes from the fact that like this generation works smarter, not harder half the time.
Yeah.
And we're just ahead of that curve that makes us even more valuable, that I'm sure every company can agree with, which is like one of the big things hiring young is technology. I think there's also a mentality that goes into like coming from me. It's like, why would I do this when I could just make 100 YouTube videos in my closet and then hopefully one of them gets 11.
Likes
Yeah, right. Like,
yeah.
if I could make money off of that, why wouldn't I just put all of that time into that, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's a huge thing too, like time.
Yeah.
Like these are very formative years, you know, like especially like if you're hiring like someone who's straight out of high school, someone who's straight out of college, you know, very formative years. So it's like you're taking time out of those years, you know, like of them shaping who they want to be.
Yeah.
I think now's a really cool time too, because now that it's kind of like coming out of COVID, we're just, like people are like working from home or like working way less hours and getting the same amount of work done.
Yeah.
And like it's just like that whole culture that we've had for so long, work 9 to 5, just like kind of like what you're saying, like work smarter, not harder. Like people are able to like work under different conditions. It doesn't have to be like, it seemed like corporate culture and
Like you had said about the misconception of, you know, this generation not wanting to work and you know, and I think there's always going to be, you know, a few that ruin it for everybody. You know what I mean? So like personally, I know, you know, a lot of my friends, they are really determined to, you know, work really hard. And, you know, I will say too, though, you know, you do see some that really don't want to work. And I think being able to distinguish those characteristics between, you know, like, and I think it also goes back to work ethic. I think that it's something that maybe should be, I guess, analyzed a little bit more. Because I do believe that, you know, there's a big majority of the generation that I feel like does not want to work anymore. And I feel like, you know, also like you had pointed out, like the working from home, like, you know, that's awesome. People can work from home and, you know, do this kind of stuff. I think, you know, also like socializing with people in an office is really fun. You know, if you're able to come into the office,
like community.
That's great. Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you can also still network, like you had mentioned before. So I think the younger generation does look for flexible, you know, work schedules. Like I have a flexible work schedule. I'm full-time college as well, so that definitely helps. And you need some of that stuff when you're younger to get yourself going. So like if, you know, I didn't have a flexible work schedule, it'd be really hard to you know, accomplish everything that
totally
you know, they're contributing to my success. So I think that definitely attracts the younger generation.
And like a huge other thing with this generation is the fact that like I forget where I read it, but it was like this generation has endured more like stress related problems than like any other like generation. So it's like that idea of flexibility, like doing what we need to do, but also like mental health and like all of that, you know, like there's a lot of room for like companies to be lenient with that, while also, you know, like obviously like you don't want, as we've talked about, like there's always a few rotten eggs who are gonna try and like
ruin the system
and be like, I need to take a mental health day 5 days a week, like you know. But like those times when you can see somebody struggling, helping them out, like, you know, it's people helping people. It's not a company and an employee, you know, it's community. So, you know, you're trying to get them. You're trying to create that kind of sense of community with them. You're trying to actually get invested in their lives, because once you're invested in their lives,
they're invested in you. They're invested within the company and, you know, the work that you want them to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure.